The millionaire's spoiled daughter humiliated the janitor without knowing who he really was. Don't forget to comment from which country you're watching us. The hot coffee hits the janitor's face like a burning slap. The dark liquid drips down his cheeks, stains his uniform, spills onto the freshly polished marble floor. Isabella Morgan holds the empty cup with a cruel satisfaction smile. Her friends burst into hysterical laughter behind her, recording every second with their phones. "Do you know who I am?" Her voice echoes through the entire lobby, while the man wipes coffee from his eyes with his sleeve. "I'm Isabella Morgan. My father owns this building. And you," she steps closer, with venomous contempt, "you are human trash." Without giving him time to respond, Isabella deliberately steps on the mop lying on the floor, dirtying it with her $2,000 Italian shoes. "Security!" she shouts toward the guards watching from afar. "Get this filth out of the entrance. Important clients can't see this." The employees passing through the lobby stop, horrified. Some take out their phones. Others look down, uncomfortable, but not daring to intervene. The man remains motionless, with coffee still dripping from his chin, looking at Isabella with a calm that infuriates her more than any scream of protest. "Are you staring at me?" Isabella snatches the mop from the floor and throws it against a column. "I told you to get out. People like you shouldn't even breathe the same air as us." The man finally speaks, with a serene voice that contrasts brutally with the humiliation he just suffered. "Excuse me, miss. I'll leave right away." He picks up his wet mop, wipes the coffee from his face once more, and walks away, pushing his cart with a dignity that nobody can understand. Isabella's friends keep laughing like hyenas. The witnesses quickly disperse, wanting to erase from their memory what they just witnessed. Nobody imagines that this moment of extreme cruelty will be the beginning of the most spectacular downfall the corporate world has ever seen. Because what nobody knew was who that man they had just humiliated with boiling coffee really was. If you like poetic justice stories that give you goosebumps, subscribe to the channel. Because what's about to happen will change everything you think you know about power, respect, and perfect revenge. 3 hours after the incident, the video is already circulating like wildfire through the company's hallways. Employees show it to each other in whispers, with faces of horror and indignation. Nobody can believe what they just saw. Mary Ellen, cleaning supervisor with 20 years at the company, watches the recording on her co-worker's phone with tears in her eyes. "How can such cruel people exist?" she murmurs, clenching her fists. "That poor man, does anyone know who he was?" None of the cleaning staff recognizes him. He's not on the payroll. He doesn't appear in personnel records. It's as if he appeared out of nowhere just to receive that humiliation. Meanwhile, in his office on the 40th floor, Richard Morgan paces back and forth like a caged lion. His secretary, Eleanor, stands before him with a tablet in her hands and a pale face. "Mr. Morgan, this is worse than we thought," Elena swallows before continuing. "The video isn't just circulating internally, it's already reached Twitter. It has over 50,000 views in the last 2 hours. Richard feels the world crumbling under his feet. How? Who uploaded it? We don't know. The account is anonymous. But the comments... Elena shows him the screen. They're devastating. People are calling for a boycott of all your companies. Richard reads some comments that pierce his soul like daggers. This is the real face of the rich. They treat workers like animals. How shameful. That girl should be in jail for assault. I'll never buy anything related to Morgan Corp again. His phone rings. It's the Human Resources Director. "Mr. Morgan, we have a serious problem. 15 employees from the services area have resigned in the last 2 hours. They say they can't work at a company where this type of abuse is allowed." Richard hangs up without responding. He knows this is just the beginning. At that moment, Elena receives a call that leaves her frozen. "Mr. Morgan, that was Morrison and Associates law firm. They say they represent the man in the video. They're going to sue the company and Isabella for assault, moral damage, and workplace discrimination. The silence in the office is sepulchral. "Where is Isabella?" asks Richard with a hoarse voice. "In her office, watching Netflix series. It seems she has no idea what's happening." Richard closes his eyes. In 30 years building his empire, he had never faced such a devastating crisis. And all because of his daughter's cruelty toward an innocent man. He goes down to Isabella's office and finds her indeed watching a romantic series, eating French chocolates while filing her nails. "Isabella," his voice is deeper than usual, "we need to talk." "Oh, Dad, now what? I'm at the best part of the episode." Richard snatches the remote control and turns off the television. "Do you remember what you did this morning with the janitor?" Isabella rolls her eyes with annoyance. "Are we seriously going to talk about that again? I already told you it wasn't anything important." "Nothing important is destroying our company right now." He shows her the video on his phone. Isabella sees her own face throwing boiling coffee at an innocent man's face, stepping on his mop, screaming at him as if he were trash. For the first time in her life, Isabella sees herself from the outside, and she doesn't like what she sees. "Dad, this looks really bad," she stammers. "It looks bad because it is bad, Isabella. And now that man is suing us for $5 million. The chocolate gets stuck in her throat. $5 million? For a simple coffee? For physical assault, public humiliation, and workplace discrimination. And with this video as evidence, we're going to lose." Isabella feels for the first time in her life the real weight of consequences. Her actions don't just affect her, they can destroy everything her father has built. "What are we going to do?" she asks with a trembling voice. Richard looks at her with a mixture of disappointment and paternal love that breaks his heart. "I don't know, daughter, but this man, there's something strange about him. None of our employees know him. He's not in our records. It's as if he appeared specifically for you to humiliate him." Isabella frowns. Now that she thinks about it, there was something in that man's eyes that didn't fit with his janitor role. A calm, a confidence that had disturbed her from the first moment. "Do you think it was a trap?" she asks. "I don't know, but tomorrow we'll have answers." The lawyers representing him requested an urgent meeting. What Richard doesn't tell his daughter is that those lawyers belong to the most prestigious and expensive law firm in the country, the same one used by the most powerful millionaires when they go to legal war. And what neither of them imagines is that the man they humiliated is not a defenseless victim seeking compensation. He's someone who has the power to make their company disappear with a single phone call. The next day, at 9 o'clock sharp, Richard and Isabella wait in the most luxurious conference room in the building. On the oak table, a coffee pitcher remains untouched. Nobody dares to touch it after what happened. The doors open and 3 men in impeccable suits enter. The leader is James Morrison, the city's most feared lawyer. His fees cost $2,000 per hour, and he only takes cases he can win. "Mr. Morgan, Miss Morgan." Morrison sits without shaking hands. "We're here to resolve this matter in the most civilized way possible." Richard leans forward. "Mr. Morrison, we want to apologize for what happened. My daughter acted inappropriately, and we're willing to offer fair compensation." "Fair compensation?" Morrison smiles coldly. "Do you know how many times your daughter's video has been viewed in the last 24 hours? He takes out a tablet and shows the statistics. 3 million views on Twitter, 800,000 on Instagram, 1.5 million on TikTok. Your daughter didn't just physically assault my client. She humiliated him in front of millions of people around the world." Isabella feels short of breath. She never imagined her moment of cruelty would become a global viral phenomenon. "How much does your client want?" asks Richard with a resigned voice. "My client doesn't want money, Mr. Morgan." The answer leaves them frozen. A man publicly humiliated who doesn't want financial compensation. It's the last thing they expected to hear. Then what does he want? Morrison opens his briefcase and takes out a legal document of several pages. He wants real justice. He wants your daughter to learn the value of honest work, of respect toward all human beings, regardless of their social position. He places the document on the table. My client proposes the following. Miss Isabella will work for 6 months as a general services employee in this same company. Cleaning, maintenance, cafeteria. The same jobs she considers for human trash. Isabella jumps up from her chair. You're crazy if you think I'm going to accept that. I'm not a domestic employee. Miss Morgan, Morrison looks at her with steel eyes, I assure you the alternative is much worse. He opens another folder and shows photographs of the civil lawsuit already filed, $50 million for damages. But there's also something else, a criminal lawsuit for physical assault that could send Isabella to jail. Your daughter threw hot liquid at my client's face. That constitutes assault with dangerous substances. That's 2 to 5 years in prison. The silence in the room is absolute. Richard feels the walls closing in on him. But if Miss Isabella accepts our terms, continues Morrison, my client is willing to drop all charges and the civil lawsuit. Why? Asks Richard. Why would your client do that? Morrison smiles mysteriously. Because my client believes in second chances. He believes people can change when they face the real consequences of their actions. He takes out another document. During those 6 months, Miss Isabella will earn exactly what any services employee earns, $800 monthly. No privileges, no special treatment. If she quits at any time, all lawsuits are automatically reactivated. Isabella looks at her father with desperation. Dad, you can't be seriously considering this. Richard studies the documents. The numbers are devastating. 50 million in civil lawsuits, years in prison for his daughter, the complete destruction of his business reputation. Who is your client? He finally asks. Why isn't he here? My client prefers to keep his identity reserved for now. But I assure you, he's someone with the resources and influence necessary to fulfill all his threats. Morrison stands up and collects his documents. You have 48 hours to decide. You can accept our terms, or you can explain to a jury why you think it's okay to throw boiling coffee in an innocent worker's face. Before leaving, he adds something that leaves them frozen. Oh, and one more thing. During these 6 months, my client will personally supervise Miss Isabella's progress. He'll be the one to determine if she's really learning something or if she's just pretending. The doors close with a definitive sound. Isabella collapses in her chair, trembling. Dad, I can't do this. I can't work like those people. Richard looks at her with a mixture of disappointment and paternal love that breaks his heart. Those people, Isabella, work honestly to make a living, something you've never had to do. Kay, for the first time in her life, Isabella realizes she has no way out. She can face years in prison and the total ruin of her family, or she can swallow her pride and learn what it means to work from the bottom. Who do you think that man is? She asks with a broken voice. Richard looks out the window toward the city he once believed belonged to him. I don't know, daughter. But I have the feeling we're about to discover we made the biggest mistake of our lives. What neither of them imagines is that janitor is watching the entire conversation from the building's security cameras, smiling slightly while seeing how his perfectly calculated plan unfolds. And what's about to be revealed will change everything they thought they knew about power, justice, and revenge. 2 days later, Isabella stands in front of her bedroom mirror at 5 in the morning, holding the navy blue uniform she never thought she'd have to wear. Her hands tremble as she puts it on for the first time. The rough fabric scratches her skin, accustomed to Italian silk. The safety shoes weigh like bricks on her feet that only knew designer heels. For the first time in her life, Isabella Morgan looks like a common worker. In the building's basement, Mary Ellen, the cleaning supervisor, waits for her with a mixture of curiosity and distrust. At 50 years old, Mary Ellen has seen everything in this company, but she had never had to train the owner's daughter. "Miss Isabella," she says with forced respect, "I'm going to be your supervisor during these months." Isabella nods without being able to look Mary Ellen in the eyes. Shame consumes her from within. "Your first job will be cleaning the bathrooms on the 15th floor, executive offices." Mary Ellen hands her a cart full of cleaning products. "And I want you to know something. There are no princesses here. Either you work like all of us, or you leave." While Isabella clumsily pushes the cart toward the service elevator, she doesn't realize that a man is watching her from the shadows of the underground parking garage. Daniel Harrison slowly removes the latex gloves and cap he has used for a week to keep his identity hidden. At 42 years old, he's the owner of the most powerful investment firm in the country. His net worth exceeds $800 million. But what nobody knows is that Daniel started his life exactly where Isabella is now, cleaning bathrooms, mopping floors, being invisible to important people. 20 years ago, he was the young man who cleaned this same building. He worked double shifts to pay for his university studies. He slept 4 hours a night, studied during breaks, saved every penny. And 20 years ago, Richard Morgan humiliated him exactly the same way his daughter humiliated him. Daniel perfectly remembers that December night. He was cleaning the main office when he accidentally spilled coffee on some documents. Richard, who was then just an ambitious executive, hit him in the face and threw him out on the street without paying his last month's work. "You're useless," he had shouted at him. "People like you will never amount to anything in life." Those words were burned into Daniel's memory, not from pain, but from motivation. He decided that someday he would return to show Richard Morgan who people like him really were. It took 20 years to build his empire, 20 years of work, sacrifice, smart investments, and iron determination. And when he finally had the power to destroy Richard, he decided to do something more elegant. He decided to teach him a lesson he would never forget. 3 months ago, Daniel began secretly buying Richard's company debts. He now owns 60% of everything Richard owes to banks. With a single phone call, he could bankrupt the company and leave the Morgan family in absolute ruin. But that would be too easy, too fast. Daniel wanted Isabella to feel exactly what he felt 20 years ago, the humiliation of being treated like trash, the pain of being invisible, the difficulty of working with your hands to earn every dollar. He had disguised himself as a janitor for a week, waiting for the perfect moment. He knew Isabella by her reputation, arrogant, cruel, accustomed to treating employees badly. He just had to wait for her true nature to come to light. And when she threw boiling coffee in his face, Daniel knew he had captured the perfect moment for his revenge. Now, as he watches Isabella struggle with the cleaning cart, Daniel feels a cold satisfaction. James Morrison isn't just his lawyer. He's his partner and friend since university. This entire plan has been executed with surgical precision. His phone vibrates. It's a message from Richard. "Mr. Harrison, we need to talk urgently. My company is on the verge of bankruptcy. Can we meet?" Daniel smiles. Richard has no idea that the man who can save him is the same one his daughter publicly humiliated. He still doesn't know that the janitor and the millionaire investor are the same person. He responds to the message, "Of course, Richard. See you in my office this afternoon." On the 15th floor, Isabella is on her knees in front of a toilet, crying from humiliation while trying to clean it with hands that had never touched anything dirtier than a crystal glass. Her perfect nails have broken. Her hair is disheveled. Her back hurts in a way she never imagined possible. Mary Ellen watches her from the door with crossed arms. "Miss, that's not how you clean a bathroom. You have to put strength into it. You have to scrub. Honest work requires real effort. Isabella wants to scream, wants to quit, wants to run away. But the lawyer's words echo in her head. If she quits, she'll go to jail. Why does that man hate me so much? She asks through tears. I don't even know him. Mary Ellen looks at her with a mixture of compassion and severity. Maybe because you treated him like trash without even knowing him. Maybe because there are people in this world who don't forget when they're humiliated for no reason. While Isabella continues her first day in the hell she created herself, Daniel prepares for the second phase of his plan. Because what's about to happen in that meeting with Richard will not only reveal who the humiliated janitor really is, it will reveal a truth that will destroy everything the Morgans thought they knew about their past, present, and future. That same afternoon, Richard Morgan nervously waits in the most luxurious office in the city. The 60th floor of the tallest building, with floor-to-ceiling windows spanning the entire panoramic view. This is the headquarters of Harrison Capital, the most powerful investment firm in the country. Richard had never been here before. For 30 years building his empire, he had always been the one receiving other businessmen in his office. Now, he's on the other side, like a beggar asking for help. The oak doors open, and a man enters whom Richard doesn't immediately recognize. $5,000 Italian suit, handmade shoes, Patek Philippe watch that costs more than an average house. Richard, says the man with a calm voice, it's been so long since we've seen each other. There's something familiar in that voice, but Richard can't place it. He stands up to shake hands with the most powerful man in the country. Mr. Harrison, thank you for receiving me. I urgently need... Sit down, Richard. Daniel interrupts him softly. Before talking business, I want to tell you a story. Richard sits, confused by the casual tone with which this multi-millionaire speaks to him. 20 years ago, a young man worked cleaning this building at night. He studied engineering during the day, worked all night to pay for his studies. He was an honest, hard-working boy with dreams of getting ahead. Daniel slowly walks toward the window, turning his back to Richard. One December night, that young man was cleaning an office when he accidentally spilled coffee on some documents. The executive working there became furious. He hit him in the face, threw him out of the building, never paid his last month's work. Richard begins to feel a chill down his spine. Do you know what that executive told the young janitor? Daniel slowly turns around. He told him, "You're useless. People like you will never amount to anything in life." Richard's eyes open wide. The memory comes back to him like a devastating tsunami. That night, that boy, his own uncontrolled anger. No, it can't be. That young janitor was me, Richard, and that cruel executive, was you. Richard's world crumbles in a second. The most powerful man in the country, the only one who can save his company, is the same boy he humiliated 20 years ago. Daniel, I didn't know. Didn't know what? Daniel's voice hardens. Didn't know I was a human being. Didn't know I had feelings. Or simply didn't care because I was just a janitor. Richard feels like he can't breathe. The consequences of his actions from 20 years ago are catching up to him like an avalanche. I built all this, Daniel points to his office, his empire, thinking about that moment, about the humiliation you made me feel, about the words you said to me. He walks toward his desk and takes out a folder. Do you know what I discovered when I began investigating your company 3 months ago? That your daughter is exactly like you were 20 years ago. Arrogant, cruel, incapable of seeing humanity in people she considers inferior. He opens the folder and shows financial documents. I also discovered that your company is technically bankrupt. You owe $80 million to various banks. And it turns out I bought all those debts in recent months. The documents fall on the desk like death sentences. I own 60% of everything you owe, Richard. With one phone call, I can execute those debts and destroy everything you've built. Richard feels like he's going to vomit. Not only is he in the hands of the man he humiliated, but that man has absolute power to destroy him. "But I'm not going to do that," continues Daniel, "because that would be too easy. Instead, I want you to feel exactly what I felt 20 years ago." He approaches Richard, who is pale as a ghost. "I want you to see your daughter go through the same humiliation you made me go through. I want you to understand what it means to be treated like trash by someone who thinks they're superior." "Daniel, please. She's just a girl." "I was just a boy, too." Daniel explodes for the first time. "I was 22 years old, working 18 hours a day, and you treated me like I was an animal." The silence becomes dense, charged with 20 years of repressed pain. "Your daughter is going to work 6 months as a cleaning employee," continues Daniel, regaining his composure. "She's going to feel the pain in her back, the humiliation of being invisible, the difficulty of earning every dollar with the sweat of her brow. And if she really learns the lesson, if she truly changes, then I'll consider saving your company. But if she quits, if she doesn't show genuine change, then everything you've built will disappear." Richard stands up with trembling legs. "Why are you giving me this opportunity? You could simply destroy me and be done with it." Daniel looks at him with a mixture of hardness and compassion that Richard can't decipher. "Because unlike you, I do believe people can change. I believe your daughter can learn to be better than you were to me." Richard walks toward the door, feeling like a defeated man. "Daniel, what I did to you 20 years ago, I'm sorry. Your apologies are 20 years too late, Richard. But your daughter's apologies, those could arrive just in time." When Richard leaves the office, Daniel remains alone, looking at the city from his window. For the first time in 20 years, he feels that the thirst for revenge that has consumed him might be coming to an end. But only if Isabella proves she's capable of something her father never was, recognizing her humanity and that of others. And that's about to be tested in the hardest way possible. 3 weeks later, Isabella Morgan is no longer the same person. Her hands are rough from cleaning chemicals. Her back constantly hurts. She's lost 5 pounds because physical work burns calories she had never burned before. But something deeper is changing. This morning, while cleaning the executive bathroom on the 12th floor, she hears a conversation that chills her blood. "Did you see Princess Morgan cleaning bathrooms?" laughs an executive from the hallway. "Perfect karma," responds another. "She always treated employees like trash. Now she knows how it feels. My secretary told me she saw her crying yesterday in the basement. How pathetic." Isabella clenches her fists around the cleaning brush. For the first time in her life, she is the object of mockery. She is the one being humiliated, despised, treated as less than human. And for the first time, she completely understands what that man felt when she threw boiling coffee in his face. That afternoon, during her lunch break, Isabella sits alone in the basement eating a cheap sandwich from the vending machine. Her tears fall silently onto the processed bread. Mary Ellen approaches and sits beside her without saying anything. "How do you do it?" asks Isabella with a broken voice. "How do you stand being treated like you're invisible?" Mary Ellen looks at her with eyes that have seen too much. "Because we have families to feed, miss. Because this honest work, even though others despise it, gives us dignity. Because we know our worth isn't defined by what others think of us." Isabella absorbs every word like medicine for her broken soul. "I never understood that," she admits. "I never saw the people who worked here as real people." "I know." Mary Ellen puts her hand on Isabella's shoulder. "But now you're understanding. And that's what matters." That night, Isabella arrives at her mansion more tired than she had been in her entire life, but instead of going straight to her room, she looks for Grace, the woman who has cleaned her house for 15 years. She finds her in the kitchen, preparing dinner. "Grace," says Isabella with a trembling voice, "I need to ask for your forgiveness." The older woman turns around, surprised. "Forgiveness for what, Isabella?" "For all these years I treated you like you were invisible. For all the times I made a mess on purpose just because I knew you would clean it. For never asking how you were, how your family was, what you dreamed of." Tears run down Isabella's cheeks. "For treating you like you were less important than me, when in reality you're a much better person than I've ever been." Grace, a 60-year-old woman who raised 5 children with the money she earned cleaning rich people's houses, hugs Isabella like a daughter. "Child, we all make mistakes. What's important is learning from them." Meanwhile, in his office on the 60th floor, Daniel watches everything through security cameras he has discreetly installed. He sees every tear from Isabella, hears every apology, witnesses every moment of genuine growth. His assistant enters with a report. "Mr. Harrison, the supervisors say Miss Morgan has completely changed. She arrives early, works without complaining, helps her co-workers. She even defended a new employee when an executive treated her badly." Daniel nods slowly. For the first time in 20 years, he feels his thirst for revenge transforming into something different. Respect, hope, even admiration. The next day, something happens that nobody expects. Isabella is cleaning the main lobby when she sees a young executive yelling at a new cleaning employee. The girl, who can't be more than 20 years old, cries while the man insults her for having spilled water on the floor. "You're useless," he yells at her. "People like you shouldn't work here." The words are identical to those Isabella herself used a month ago. But now, hearing them from the other side, she feels an anger she had never experienced. She approaches the executive with determination. "Excuse me," she says with a firm voice, "but you have no right to speak to her like that." The executive turns around, immediately recognizing Isabella. "Really? The fallen princess is going to give me lessons on respect?" "Exactly." Isabella positions herself between him and the employee. "Because now I know what it feels like to be on the other side, and I'm not going to allow you to treat this girl like I treated someone who didn't deserve it." The executive laughs with contempt. "You know what? You're right. You're equals now. You're both trash." What happens next is recorded on security cameras. Isabella doesn't scream. She doesn't lose control. With a dignity that would have made Mary Ellen cry with pride, she looks the executive directly in the eyes. "If we're trash, then we're the trash that keeps this building clean so people like you can work comfortably, and that makes us more valuable than you'll ever be." The executive is left speechless. "Now," continues Isabella, "you're going to apologize to my co-worker, or I'll personally make sure my father knows how you treat his employees." The man stammers an apology and walks away quickly. The young employee looks at Isabella with admiration and gratitude. "Thank you, miss. Nobody had ever done something like that for me." "You're welcome," responds Isabella. "And call me Isabella. We're co-workers." That night, Daniel watches the recording in his office. For the first time in 20 years, he smiles with genuine satisfaction. His revenge is complete, but not in the way he had planned. He hasn't destroyed Isabella. He has transformed her into the person he always hoped she could be. And now he's ready for the final phase of his plan. The moment when Isabella discovers who the man she humiliated really is. The moment when everything will be revealed and both their futures will be decided forever. It's Friday night, last day of the 4th week. Isabella is finishing cleaning the main lobby when she receives a message on her phone. "Miss Morgan, I need to see you in the office on the 60th floor. We need to talk about your future. D. Harrison." Isabella feels a knot in her stomach. She has heard rumors about Daniel Harrison, the multimillionaire who has the power to save or destroy her father's company. but she has never seen him in person. She quickly changes out of her uniform into the only decent clothes she has left, a simple dress that she previously considered for employees, but is now the best she has. The executive elevator feels strange after a month using the service one. When she reaches the 60th floor, a secretary guides her toward an office that leaves her breathless. The floor-to-ceiling windows show the entire illuminated city. The furniture costs more than her salary for an entire year. This is the kingdom of one of the most powerful men in the country. "Miss Morgan," says a voice behind her, "please take a seat." Isabella turns around and sees a man in an impeccable suit, 42 years old, intelligent eyes, and a presence that fills the entire room. There's something familiar about him, but she can't identify what. "Mr. Harrison," she says nervously, "I don't know why you wanted to see me, but—" "I know exactly why I wanted to see you." Daniel slowly walks toward the window. "During the last month, I've been watching your transformation very closely." Isabella frowns. How can a multimillionaire know anything about her work as a cleaning employee? "I've seen how you've changed," continues Daniel, "how you went from being an arrogant and cruel person to someone who defends her co-workers, who works honestly, who has learned the value of respect." I don't understand." Isabella stands up from her chair. "Why do you care how I work?" Daniel slowly turns around, and for the first time Isabella can see his face completely under the light. And then she recognizes him. The eyes. Those serene, deep eyes that looked at her with impossible calm while she threw boiling coffee in his face. "No," she whispers, bringing her hands to her mouth. "It can't be. I'm the janitor you humiliated a month ago, Isabella. I'm the man you treated like human trash in front of everyone." Isabella's world completely crumbles. The most powerful man in the country, the one who holds her family's future in his hands, is the same person she publicly destroyed. "But you're—" she stammers, unable to process the information. "I'm Daniel Harrison, owner of the largest investment firm in the country. Net worth of $800 million. And I'm also the son of a domestic worker who worked cleaning houses her entire life to give me an education." Daniel walks toward his desk and takes out an old photograph. "This is my mother, Rose Harrison. She worked for rich families for 40 years. She endured humiliations, contempt, insults, all so I could study and get ahead." Isabella looks at the photograph with tears in her eyes. The woman looks like Mary Ellen, like Grace, like all the working women she had ignored her entire life. "When I disguised myself as a janitor," continues Daniel, "it wasn't just to evaluate your company. It was to understand if Richard Morgan's daughter had the same cruelty her father showed me 20 years ago." "My father?" Isabella looks at him with confusion. "Your father humiliated me exactly like you humiliated me. 20 years ago, when I was a student who cleaned offices to pay for university." Daniel tells her the entire story. The December night, the spilled coffee, the slap, the cruel words that marked him forever. "I built all this," he points to his office, his empire, "thinking about getting revenge on your father. I bought all his company's debts. I can destroy him with a single phone call." Isabella feels like she can't breathe. "But then I met you. I saw your cruelty, your arrogance, and I decided the best revenge wasn't destroying your father, but teaching you what it means to be treated as less than human." "I'm sorry." Isabella falls to her knees, crying inconsolably. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't understand." "Stand up," says Daniel with a soft voice. "You don't have to kneel before me." Isabella stands up, trembling. "During this month, I've seen something I never expected to see. I've seen a person truly change. Not pretend, not act to get away with it. Genuinely change." Daniel approaches her. The woman who defended that young employee this week is not the same one who threw boiling coffee in my face a month ago. The person who asked Grace for forgiveness is not the same one who treated workers as invisible. Will you forgive me? Asks Isabella with a broken voice. Daniel looks at her for a long moment. I already forgave you, Isabella. I forgave you the day I saw your repentance was real. I forgave you when I saw you had learned life's most important lesson, that all human beings deserve respect, regardless of their job or social position. He takes out a document from his desk. This is a contract, a real job proposal. I want you to be the director of my new social responsibility program. Your job will be to ensure that all the companies I invest in treat all their employees with dignity and respect. Isabella can't believe what she's hearing. Why? Why would you give me that opportunity after what I did to you? Because nobody understands the importance of respect better than someone who has lived on both sides of the equation, because you've learned what it means to work honestly, and because I believe you can make a real difference in many people's lives. Daniel extends his hand. Do you accept? Isabella looks at the extended hand, the same hand she had despised when it was covered by latex gloves. The same hand that belongs to the man she almost destroyed with her cruelty. Yes, she says, shaking his hand with tears of gratitude, I accept. But what neither of them knows is that this story is about to take a final turn that nobody could foresee, a turn that will convert this lesson in humility into something much bigger than either of them imagined. The story could have ended there. With Isabella transformed, Daniel satisfied with his accomplished revenge, and the Morgan family saved by their former enemy's generosity. But real life is never that simple. 1 year after that Friday of Revelations, Isabella Morgan has become the most respected social responsibility director in the country. Her program has transformed working conditions in more than 50 companies. She has given voice to thousands of workers who were previously invisible, and she has fallen deeply in love with the man who saved her from herself. The problem is that Daniel doesn't know it. This morning, Isabella waits in the conference room on the 60th floor to present her annual report. She has worked day and night for 12 months, not just to prove she was worthy of the opportunity Daniel gave her, but because every day she realizes she admires him more, not just for his power or his wealth, for his compassion disguised as toughness, for his ability to turn pain into purpose, for the way he never let the world's cruelty make him cruel. Daniel enters the room with the same imposing presence as always, but Isabella notices something different in his eyes, a softness that wasn't there a year ago. Isabella, he says, taking a seat across from her, I've reviewed your work this year. It's exceptional. She smiles, but her heart beats so hard she's sure he can hear it. Thank you, but I have something more important to report. Daniel raises an eyebrow, intrigued. During this year, I didn't just learn about social responsibility. I learned about myself, about what really matters in life. She stands up and walks toward the window overlooking the city. A year ago, you told me you had already forgiven me, but there's something I never told you, something I've been keeping for these 12 months. What is it? Isabella turns to look him directly in the eyes. That I fell in love with the man who taught me what it means to be truly human. The silence extends through the room like a wave. Isabella. Daniel slowly stands up. I don't expect you to feel the same. She continues. I know that to you, I'll probably always be the cruel girl who threw coffee in your face. But I needed to tell you, because this is the first time in my life I love someone for who they really are, not for what they can give me. Daniel walks toward her, and for the first time in a year, Isabella can't read his expression. Do you know what my biggest surprise has been this year? He asks. She shakes her head. That at some point, without realizing it, I stopped seeing you as the daughter of the man who humiliated me, or as the woman who threw boiling coffee at me. I started seeing you as Isabella, just Isabella. He stops in front of her. And that Isabella is someone I fell in love with without permission, without planning it, without even wanting it. Isabella's heart stops completely. What are you saying? I'm saying that maybe the best stories aren't about revenge. They're about how two people can heal each other in ways they never imagined. Daniel takes Isabella's hands in his. I'm saying I want to try building something new with you, not based on the past, but on who we are now. And when they kiss, Isabella feels that her entire previous life was just a prologue to this moment. The moment when she understood that sometimes the most beautiful stories are born from the most painful mistakes. 2 years later, in the same marble lobby where it all began, a wedding is celebrated that nobody could have predicted. Daniel Harrison, the multimillionaire who started cleaning floors, marries Isabella Morgan, the heiress who learned the value of honest work. Mary Ellen is the matron of honor. Grace cries with joy in the front row. Richard Morgan, also transformed by his daughter's example, walks proudly toward the altar. And when the priest asks if anyone has any objection to the marriage, a voice from the back shouts, "Yes, I have an objection!" Everyone turns around horrified. An older woman, about 70 years old, slowly walks toward the altar. It's Rose Harrison, Daniel's mother. The woman who worked cleaning houses her entire life to give her son an education. My objection, she says with a smile that illuminates the entire church, is that my son took too long to find a woman who deserved him. She approaches Isabella and takes her hands. Welcome to the family, daughter. Welcome to a family that knows the true value of a person isn't measured by their money, but by how they treat others. And in that moment, everyone present understands they have witnessed something more than a wedding. They have witnessed a story about how love can be born from pain, how redemption can flourish from cruelty, and how the best people aren't those who never make mistakes, but those who learn from them. Isabella and Daniel's story goes viral for the second time, but this time not for cruelty, but for hope. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are those that teach us it's never too late to change, it's never too late to learn, and it's never too late for love to conquer even the most perfectly planned revenge. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments from which country you're watching us and tell us what lesson you take from Isabella's transformation. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that prove we all deserve a second chance.